E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. The 6-Minute Webinar is a tool, it's an application that will really benefit you if you really want to get your message across in 6 minutes or less to your ideal client. It's got an introduction, a body, a close, and a call to action, all within 6 minutes. It's a valuable tool. If you'd like to know more information about that, please just email us here at inspiration@e360tv.com. You see on the marquee there. And as our gift, we will be more than happy to set up a time where we can walk a person through and have a class on that, so you'll be able to see the benefit on it. And we're so honored to have Mr. Emerson Brantley with us today. He's Director of Marketing. And Emerson, I got to give a shout out to a good friend of ours, Mr. Bill Heinrich, who's
yes.
7 Levels of Truth. And Bill is a guy that took 30 years in making this book, ladies and gentlemen, The 7 Levels of Truth. It's on Amazon. And Bill's books is all about how you can let go of all of the things that do not serve you, that drag you down, all of the worries, all of the physical things of life, and how you can focus on how you're entitled to the love and abundance of life. Because you're entitled to that. You're so richly deserved that. You really do. And also I've got to give a shout out to a friend of mine. She's from Austin, Texas. Nicole's been on about a month-long mission. And I don't know if she's back, but her product, it's called Tough Mother Brand. Tough Mother Brand. This has apple cider vinegar, as you can see as I turn it around here. If I get my camera and brain coordinated, I'm definitely using it. This product here has got all types of roots and herbs and spices blended in apple cider vinegar. So if you're a fan of apple cider vinegar, please go to toughmotherbrand.com and check it out. It's one of the greatest products that I really enjoyed. I take it every day, and it's a wonderful product. It's good for my heart, it's good for my health, and it's good for my attitude. Emerson can testify to that, right, Emerson? Okay,
yeah.
we won't go there. Yeah, good answer, Emerson. Emerson, today we've got a
lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Emerson says anything with you, Jim, would be an improvement. Hey, that's okay. I can handle that, folks, because I learned how to love myself first so I can love others. Compliments of Mr. Bill Heinrich's book, The 7 Levels of Truth. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. Direct marketing from to a consumer. We got 2 subject matter experts here. Emerson, you've done a lot of work in that field, and I know Mr. Rick Cesari, he's done a buku work in that field, and I'm going to push the button, and I'm going to let you welcome him to the show, sir.
It's good to have you back, Rick.
Hey, it's great to be here, Emerson.
We were talking before the show. I think on another show that we did, I introduced you as one of the godfathers of an awful lot of the long form commercials and things like that. But you've done so much more in your career. And we were talking before the show. Something I had assumed about you that you verified. Like me, when in starting out, I never heard the term direct response, which is what we're going to be talking about today. That's a term that came along later on. We were just doing stuff that made sense,
Yeah, absolutely. I think like me, when you're in marketing, you're very results oriented, and you find out advertising that works, that gets sales. And then later on, you find out that there's a name for it, direct response marketing. And that's kind of how we both, I think, discovered it. I wanted to hold up, I didn't talk about this last time, but I'm sure you're familiar with this book.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's really interesting because, the agency today, Ogilvy, it's more known as a brand agency and things. But if you read this book by David Ogilvy, and he's the guy they tailored the main character of Mad Men after David Ogilvy. And if you read his book, it is really about direct marketing and direct selling. And that's kind of what a lot of advertising used to be. There just wasn't a name like direct response or that type of thing. But it's been around a long time, and it's worked for a long time. It will continue to work. And so I'm really looking forward to the show today to kind of talk about some of the things I've learned, doing this for 25 or 30 years.
Well, there was another person from that time period that we became good friends before he passed away, J. Conrad Levinson, with who went from Madison Avenue, Marlboro Man, the Pillsbury Doughboy, and those kinds of things that are icons today, but created the concept of what he called guerrilla marketing.
Yes.
Same idea, marketing that's designed to get a response, to get results. And, I've told people over the years, if Coca-Cola or Pepsi or somebody called me up tomorrow and said, Emerson, we'd like you to head up our marketing. You want to talk about, we went up 1/10 of a point of market share in Cleveland, and we went up 3/4 of a point in Walla Walla. That's a whole different world from direct response, where what we do is designed to create a response. And the sequence of those responses ends up becoming sales, relationships, repeat sales, referrals, and on and on and on, all the things that we want from our ideal clients.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Coca-Cola. You could say Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble.
Right.
The marketing we're going to talk about today is designed, and really, like you talked about, guerrilla marketing, a powerful marketing concept that really benefits smaller businesses that don't have huge ad budgets,
Right.
and they need to generate revenue as they go along. And that's really the secret to success of these concepts we're going to be talking about today, some of them. And it really gives a huge advantage to smaller businesses that don't have big ad budgets, but need to generate sales and grow their brand. So we can dive in.
A lot of times it gives them more of an advantage than multi-million-dollar corporations that are real slow. They're like Titanic. They're real slow to make turns and to make changes, whereas smaller businesses are fleet-footed. They can make decisions. They can put things out there. They get response. They can see what's working and do more of it.
Yep.
It's a whole different concept.
Yeah, one thing that I like that you said, Emerson, and I think this is a huge advantage for the small business person, that is the marketing relationship. The client can get to know you, and that is a huge advantage. And I just can't wait to dig into these things. We're going to be talking about 10 different things. We're not going to be able to cover them all in one show, and we're going to do additional shows for that. But ladies and gentlemen, direct to consumer, D2C, oh my goodness gracious, that's what it's all about, in it, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick recap, in our previous show, we went over kind of my background and how I got into marketing, but the concepts we're going to be talking about today, I've used to help create brands like the Juice Man, the Bread Man, and Sonicare, and OxyClean, and George Foreman Grill, the Rug Doctor, Clarisonic, Momentous Golf, more recently the GoPro camera. So this is something that has been tried and proven over many different years, and developed.
Mhm.
And we talked earlier about, it doesn't really matter the marketing platform if you understand the direct response principles, and that's what we're going to get into today. And we're not necessarily talking about, like, a lot of times you might go to a webinar and or read a book and you figure out a specific tactic. We're talking more larger strategies that would drive the marketing. And I think it's really great to understand those fundamentals. And a lot of things we're going to be talking about today. I teach a class once a couple times a semester at the University of Washington business class, and these are the things that I share with them. And just like Emerson, it's come from reading books, going to seminars, real life practice, and then you develop kind of an arsenal of tools that you can use in your marketing. And that's some of what we're going to share today.
Mhm. Absolutely. Emerson, I really like the first one that Rick listed here. He says, always think direct response. Let me ask you a question. When you tell a guy like me to always be thinking, Jim, about a direct response, that shifts the mindset off of me and how I can get my customer to respond to me. Am I correct on that? Or do you need to clean that up a whole bunch?
No, that's fine. No, I totally understand. And, I'm going to refer to a couple more books and then we'll dive in and talk about some of the principles.
Please do.
Just like Emerson said, direct response, it's called direct marketing. It's really basically advertising. That's two things. One, you're asking for a response from the person who sees the ad, whether that, in the old days, a newspaper ad, radio ad, TV ad, online ad, doesn't matter. You're asking for some type of response. Get more information, download this brochure, leave a name on the mailing list, but whatever, or buy the product. It doesn't matter. But you're always asking for some type of response from the viewer or listener. And then the second thing that's really important in direct response, which makes it a little bit different than brand advertising, is every single dollar you spend on advertising is measurable. So you can always measure what the results of your advertising in as either a cost per lead or a cost per new customer or a cost per sale type of thing. And those are really the two things that make direct response advertising what it is.
And
it's really,
something else that we've talked about too. It's not always in so many businesses we've seen make this mistake. It's not always about, I spent this much, I made this much.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's more steps in that process, just like with any relationship. And when we get those steps in our head and understand what we're doing, there are different types of responses that people do at different stages of the game.
Yes.
So it's so many small businesses will run radio ads, or they'll run local media or Facebook or whatever, and they'll be doing everything by the counter of how many people walk through their door or how many people call the phone and made a purchase, or who and sometimes it's just getting that response from the people to begin the conversation.
Yeah, getting their name on a mailing list. Then you can start that relationship or conversation, and hopefully not just be a one-time customer, but a lifetime customer.
Yes, a lifetime customer with who refers people to you, who brags about you. And one of the ones that I love, Rick, which you laughed the first time I think you heard me say this, is who forgive you when you screw up, because we all screw up, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being the person who says, well, they should have done it right the first time, and goes and tells 10 people how rotten you are.
Yep, absolutely.
Just
So I want to again,
finding those people.
oh, go ahead. Yeah. So I want to share, and again, this, you guys have probably heard about these books but I'm sharing things that have helped me in my journey. This
Oh,
one's the
yeah.
No BS Guide to Direct Marketing by
Oh,
Dan Kennedy. Dan
yep.
Kennedy was, at least for me, when I was learning direct response marketing, was one of my gurus. He was around before me, and taught a lot of different seminars and masterminds, and wrote probably more than a dozen books on direct response marketing. And I have to say that that book, The No BS Guide to Direct Marketing, was one of the very first ones I read.
Oh,
And this
wow.
is going back 25 years ago. And it
Wow.
really impacted the way I looked at the marketing I was doing. And it was
Mhm.
just very simple techniques. It's not a very complicated, it's not like a college textbook. It's real. And I would recommend any business read that book, and then his other book, which is The No BS Guide to Brand Building. And
Hmm.
you know, probably one of the biggest takeaways from the book, everybody talks about building brand and the things you need to do for the brand. And Dan's got a really simple concept that I just love to share. And I mentioned it on our previous show, is don't brand to sell your product, sell your product to build the brand. And
Hmm.
that's a simple concept. There's so much in that. If you actually put that into practice and you think about it, you're getting your product or your service out into people's hands. It starts them doing the oldest type of advertising, which is word of mouth. They like your product or service. They tell their friends. They share the product or service with their friends. They give you feedback, which you can turn into a testimonial. So there's so many, and even product improvement. They'll tell you what they don't like about your product or service, so you can improve it moving forward. It's a feedback loop. So
Mhm.
that concept of getting out into the marketplace before you have everything maybe necessarily perfected is just a very important way of growing the business, and building your brand for the long term.
Well, and you make a very good point. In branding is one of the most misunderstood things, especially for all sorts of businesses,
Yes.
major corporations, as well as smaller businesses. But branding really isn't something that you do. It's what your market does. And when you get the connection, it's the market that's making that real. I can say something 100 times, maybe get a jingle back there, have a cool logo. That's not what branding's really about. It's your reputation. It's what people say about you. It's what they say when they call you on the phone. It's what they tell their friends. It's what they think when they're looking for something in your space. You have created a brand, and so often it's like when we're talking about relationships on other levels than business. You know, I have a beard, you don't have a beard. That's not a brand. That's not who you are. That's not what you're about. That's not your qualities, the things that I learned to respect and trust and believe in. Those are the things that make up the branding. For small
Mhm.
businesses, that's one of the reasons they have such an advantage when they
Mm.
really get some of the concepts you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, not I think, technology has made it even easier for a business to, in my opinion, to build its brand, a business that's starting out. And on the same hand, if you're not careful, it's a way that could rapidly hurt your brand if you aren't doing
Mm.
things right. Um, and I have an old axiom when it comes to brand building, and I can't say I invented this. I think Bill Walton did, uh, where he said, under promise and over deliver is
Mhm.
the secret. And if you do that, again, with a service, with a product, all the things you're talking about, Emerson, people will be saying nice things about your company. They'll be sharing the things, their
Oh, yeah.
experience with their friends. And that's what creates the brand. But at the same time, you go back to the very beginning, they don't hear about your product unless you're actually selling it. And so that's where the direct response part comes in.
Mhm.
So it's just a belief that has helped me over my career, work with these products and build many brands, kind of starting from scratch.
I really like what you say there about under promise and over deliver, because many times you order something online, they'll say, well, it's probably going to be about 10 days before you get it. And then you get that product delivered to your house in less than 7 days. That makes you feel real good 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
It makes you trust the company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, they know they're going to get it there within 7 days. Well, if you know you're going to get it there in 7 days, just say it'd be about 10 days. We've been very busy. We'll hope we'll get there in about 10 days. Expect it like then. And then you do it less. And that's great, because who knows, the delivery truck may have 29 flat tires going to your house,
Yeah.
But
You
it gives
think
you
about the single, probably biggest thing that's made Amazon successful. It's all the millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars that they put into infrastructure so that they could do Amazon Prime and people could get their product in 1 day or 2 days, and without trusting that would happen, without doubt. If I order something from Amazon Prime, I know sometimes they say it'll take 2 days, and sometimes it's there the very same day, and you're amazed. And it's like, how do they do this? It's really an amazing advantage that they have.
Yes, because everybody loves good customer service.
Yes.
From the alpha to the omega. That to me is a make or break situation with any company.
And just like Emerson said, that's part of the brand, part of who you are. If your philosophy as a business or a person is to offer 100% the best customer service,
yes,
people experience that, and again, they tell other people about it. So it's a way of marketing that you wouldn't think it's smart. You think customer service, what's that have to do with marketing? But it's a huge important part of marketing, offering really, really good customer service.
Oh yeah. And something that I see quite often these days, when companies do misstep, screw up, bad things happen, they tend to not do something that, at least from my experience, and I think from yours, was like gospel. Get out there, own it.
Absolutely.
Own it. And what make and do what we used to call in advertising, make good. On it, and just make sure that people understand, what, even when things happen, we're here for you.
Yep. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Sonicare toothbrush. They were already pretty well known, pretty successful. They found they were probably selling 10, 20,000 units a month. They found a couple units that had a defect in it. And they actually sent an email out to all their customers and did a product recall on all the units and replaced them all. And I'm talking about, thousands and thousands of units, but they got ahead of it and took responsibility for a mistake. And people really appreciated that. And it just added to their brand and what people could expect from them as a company. They knew that the company was going to stand behind their product. And it's a perfect example of the ownership you were talking about.
I remember many years ago, I was in sales back in the 70s, going to take over managing a store. And the older fellow there that was retiring, he says, let me give you a little piece of advice. Every now and then, you're going to have a customer that is upset with something that they bought from you. And they're going to come in and they're going to think they got to plead their case. Most people try to hush them up because they don't want to hear it. And let me make this right. He says, don't do that. He says, let the person get everything out of them because they're upset. They got to come back. They got a defective product or something that didn't work, something broke, whatever. Let them get it out of their system. And as they're explaining, why they're there and what happened, you're going to know. what you can do.
Hmm.
He says, then you can just look at him and say, I understand. I'm sorry that happened. What would you like me to do about it today to make it right with you? And he says, when you say that, 90% of the time, they're already willing to accept less than what you're willing to give to make it right for you.
Yep.
And then you say, okay, I'll do that, but I got to feel good about this. Let me also do this here too.
Absolutely.
And then that way they feel like they won because they did. They were able to, ventilate their frustrations, get it out of their system. Then they go home, and if it's a guy, he's going to go home and tell his wife, I went up there and told them what I thought of that product, and they got me a brand new and gave me another 20% off next time I make a purchase.
Yeah.
Make the person a winner, because therefore they know anytime they have a problem with you, it's not a problem. You're a person that cares about them. You're a person that has a lot of respect about who you are, what you do, your brand, everything. That's part of it. And I never have forgotten that. And that's a principle. And the one thing I'll just like to say, and I'm going to hush and let the two gentlemen here is a lot more sharper on this topic than I am. But always remember, principles never change. Methods and techniques will change,
Yeah.
but principles never, ever change.
That's a great point, Jim. There's a company that's based in Seattle out here that built their entire business based on that customer return policy called Nordstrom and Nordstrom department stores. And no matter when you bought a pair of shoes from Nordstrom, it started out as a shoe store. Even if it was like 5 years later, you could bring those shoes back and they would take them back, no questions asked. And they built their entire, business on that concept. And it just goes to show you that the customer's always right. And even there's going to be a few people that always take advantage of a situation like that, but in the long run, it's going to definitely benefit the business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It really will, because, don't worry about the 5% that will take advantage about that. Rejoice in the fact of the 95% that's your ideal clients, and they love you and they want to do business with you. They pick you to give their money to. That's how valuable that is.
You make a really good point, and I often, in talking about guarantees, use some examples from my past. What a guarantee! Why are you talking guarantees and with marketing? You handle the marketing. We'll worry about the guarantee. No, it's all part of the same picture. But people worry so much about how to refine and tighten that guarantee so nobody can take advantage of them. And are afraid to just put it out there and make it clear, easy to read, understand, open. We want to fix it. If that's what you want to do, say that's what you want to do. And people who are seeing it, who are reading it, who are hearing it, step back from that. And that you've just taken away the risk for them, the fear for them that they're gonna make a bad decision, whatever it is that they're getting from you, and they're going to get hurt. And you take it away. There's a store here, and I think there's a store here called Aldi's. I think I mentioned it in a different show. Trader Joe's is their sister company. I don't think they're direct. They're from the same two brothers anyway. But at Aldi's, their guarantee, if you buy something and you're not happy with it, bring it back. They'll replace it and they'll give you the money that you spent on the first one.
Yep.
And you say, well, how can a business stay in business doing that? People are going to rob them blind. No, they don't. In fact, I've done this and I've heard other people do it. Look, I just want to swap it out.
Yep.
No, I don't want the money for it. Why? Because you care for me, I care for you.
Yep.
The relationship thing is there.
Yep. Building relationship with the customer. It's great because Emerson, what you're talking about, the guarantee or the risk-free offer, the second thing on my list of direct to consumers is always have an offer. And we'll talk about some specific things in there. But one of the most important parts of of an offer, especially if you're selling the product directly and it's not just a lead generation, is a guarantee or a risk-free guarantee, which lets the potential customer know that they can order a product or service without a risk of being unhappy and having to keep the product or not, losing their money. And we've done multiple testing, TV, online. And if you have a strong guarantee, which you were just talking about, it makes the offers perform better.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I did work, Rick. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. They were an international anti-corrosive coatings company. Okay, so this is like paint to a different level. So you use it on heavy equipment and things like that, and especially big chiller units and air conditioning units and sewage treatment plants. I mean, they were, doing projects that were in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in giving protective coatings. So they had some cheesy aftermarket guarantee on a. They would charge $50,000 or something, and for another $600, you can have a guarantee on it. It took me close to a year, about 9 months, to convince them, and I worked directly with FTC on this to try to get a guarantee that would work. But basically, they had the best product. All the testing had shown that for years. Engineers wanted to use it. All we had to do was just say, hey, we got you covered. And a simple guarantee that said that if it ever corrodes, if it ever rusts, if it ever, we'll replace the equipment. And everybody said, how can you replace their equipment? It's not your equipment. It's like, yeah, but that's the fear. That was the fear. I'm going to put this stuff on this massively expensive piece of equipment, and I'm going to get stuck when it doesn't work. And how many chiller units sitting on the tops of skyscrapers and office buildings in the last 20 years or more, 25, 30, longer than that. How many of them do you think they ever had to replace?
Not very many.
None.
Yeah.
None.
That's awesome.
It was just an amazing risk reversal for the people who were having to make a decision, working in a big corporation, concerned about their little turf and all the stuff that corporate, politics and everything else have to do with. And it was a simple thing that just totally changed the trajectory of the company.
I think we can file that under Jim's concept of a principle, is always have a risk-free guarantee. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me dive into this offer real quick.
Sure.
It's my direct-to-consumer rule number 2, and these aren't in any particular order. I just kind of would put them down on paper. But I'll give you a good real-life example. We talked about this on a previous show, but I love the story, and that's the GoPro example, where they were doing a lot of online advertising with some success, and they came to my agency to do some television advertising. And the thing about GoPro is they had, one, it's a good product, but two, they had really, really cool user-generated footage of, people jumping out of airplanes and snowboarding and skiing and scuba diving and all the extreme sports. People were using GoPros, and they could have just done both online and television advertising, just showing this cool footage. The owner and founder of the company, Nick Woodman, and I kind of sat down and we put our heads together, and we said, why don't we turn these ads, these 30-second television ads, into a direct response ad? And we decided at the end of the ad that we would say, go to our website and register for our contest. Someone will win one of everything we make every single day. And, 3 great things happened. People saw the ad. They really liked the GoPro or the footage. And so then this ad came up, and again, the offer is we're making people take an action, just like we talked about earlier. That's what direct response is. they would go to the website and they would register for the contest. So we'd capture their name and email address. So we were building our database. We could market to these people later. The second cool thing that happened is people would come to the website to register for the contest. That was the reason they were there. Once on the site, they would look around the site and get exposed to more of the GoPro philosophy, and they would see other GoPro videos, and they would share the videos with their friends and build up the word of mouth advertising. And then the last thing that happened is more true direct response, which is they'd go to the website and people would buy the camera. It would generate revenue, and we would basically then take that revenue and plug it back into new advertising. And GoPro was doing about $1 million in sales when we started doing these TV ads. And over the course of 8 years, and there was a lot of other types of marketing that went into it, besides just what we were doing with the TV, but the company was able to grow to about $1 billion in 8 years. This kind of was the gasoline, I think, on the fire that helped expand the business very quickly.
I remember on a previous show, we showed the 2 different types commercials. One was a guy on a kayak or whatever going whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
And then really what I really liked the fact was that here was a family in their yard with their little girl and using a GoPro for that. And I still got both of those here in the studio. I mean, I'd be glad to play either one of them if it'd be beneficial.
Yeah, I think just so the people that didn't see the other show, maybe just play that one.
I think it's a great idea.
Ad, because I think it's important that they see the end, what we're talking about when we say make an offer.
Yeah.
How much is GoPro, roundabout figures? What kind of revenues are they looking at today?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't exactly know the answer, but if we can dive into that story, the thing that made them successful also, and it built the brand, and you've probably seen this with other products. What happened was after you created this market, a lot of cheap imitations came in and really undercut the market, where GoPro was selling for like $300 for a camera, and it's still worth it. It's the state-of-the-art camera. A lot of cheap product that's made overseas came in and really hurt the business for a little while. Usually what happens in that case is it hurts the business, but then eventually the one with the strongest brand wins out. And that's what we're seeing in the marketplace today. But I don't know what their sales are currently.
Well, what's good, and this is for anybody watching who owns a business of any size. They were not the first digital camera.
No.
They were not the most advanced optics digital camera. They were not the, they had a concept in a niche, and their niche was solving 1 or 2 key problems, and people who were very active were able to see, hey, here's something I could do that would be cool. I don't have to be holding it. I don't have to be trying to. And they weren't the first in the technology for making pictures digitally. They were in a very crowded market, I think you'll agree, Rick, of cameras. But they chose to be in that niche and own it. And I agree with you.
Yeah, the thing
that's a secret for a lot of businesses. I think we'll get into that later when we talk about the unique selling proposition. I always tell businesses I'm working with, find a niche that you can dominate, a niche, and that's how you'll get traction as a business. It's not always easy to do, but then if you get traction in that niche, you can dominate that niche, and then it's easier to expand beyond it. But you're absolutely right. And their niche to start out was extreme athletes. And
Mhm.
just as
Yeah.
much as the camera technology, it was the mounting technology where you could
Yes.
put it
Yeah.
on your wrist, you could put it on a ski pole, you could put it on a bicycle handlebars, you could put it on a helmet. You see, used to on a ski slope, you just see every other person had a
Yeah.
GoPro on their helmet, and
Mhm.
that was just as important as the camera technology as the
Right.
Yeah.
mounting technology.
And the
which they
thing
brought.
is, I don't need all of that stuff. I'm not going to be wearing
Mhm.
a helmet. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
riding a trail bike over the edge of
Yeah.
a cliff. What I
Yeah.
don't need, I just need a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
What I like, what I
It's
like
okay
about,
because that means I'm not your market.
yeah.
Yes.
Know your
What
market.
what I love
They need their
about their
market.
what I love about the second commercial is a little girl, because that was a message of for the family that says, "Hey, we can do that."
Yep.
And you want me to play the second commercial, little girl there?
Sure. That would be great.
Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Just observe this. This is beautiful.
Offer at the end of the commercial, we were talking
Yeah.
about that, but,
Yeah.
talking about the family and the little girl,
Mm.
that was a conscious decision,
Oh,
from the
yeah.
marketing that, okay, we've basically dominated this niche of extreme athletes. How do we build our market share? And they were
Mhm.
looking at then using it, how can people use this for other, other things that require a camera.
Right.
And so their advertising was trying to take in a new audience, and it worked. There was a lot of I didn't send one over, but they had a lot of pet commercials where people were
Oh.
taking pictures of their pets, and that's a whole other category that they were able to kind of get into. So they're a very
Oh, yeah.
smart company the way they
Yeah.
they grew the business.
Yeah, the thing I like about the little girl there, I mean, that's precious memories for a family, you know.
Mhm.
And someone sees that and they go like, "Hey, we got to do that because we want to remember our kids when they were small." And it's just, it's just, oh, I just love it. I really do. It's just a classic, classic, classic thing that we all cherish. We,
Mhm.
our pictures and our movies and things like that. And the message they relayed to a guy like me is that, hey, I can do that.
Yeah.
Well, and
Really.
it was just precious and classic at the end.
Yes.
Yep,
Again.
absolutely. Cool.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good time we can move on to what I call rule number 3, direct to consumer rule number 3, which
Okay.
is uh, always upsell. And I know
Mm.
this kind of is you can look at it as maybe like a niche thing, but when it comes to direct response marketing, um, you're getting a lead, you're maybe selling a product. What's it's the mindset of what's next, or what's next that we can offer the customer or do for the customer. And it really, I'll tell you how I learned this lesson. I don't know if I shared this story the first time I talked, but when I graduated from college, I went to college up north in Pennsylvania, but my family was living in Daytona Beach, Florida. And so after college, I moved down to Daytona Beach, and Daytona is a tourist town. There's not a lot of industry there, so there wasn't a company that I could get a good job with. So I took a job during the day as a lifeguard, and at night I was a bartender, which were considered good jobs from a revenue standpoint, especially for a young college kid. But my job during the day, I was a kind of a glorified lifeguard. My main job was to sell suntan lotion to the tourists that would come down and sit by the pool. And I was working for a company called Hawaiian Tropic.
Oh,
And
Mm.
at the time, and a reason Hawaiian Tropic became a big success, people, there really wasn't a good, maybe Coppertone was a suntan brand, but maybe the only one. But a lot of people were still using like mineral oil, and they put iodine in it, and
yes.
that's what they would rub on their skin. And
Mm.
Hawaiian Tropic came along, and this is kind of a little known secret. My degree was in biology, so I had to take chemistry labs. And there's an experiment you do when you're a first year chemistry student where you mix a couple chemicals together and it creates a banana smell. And just coincidentally, Ron Rice, the founder of Hawaiian Tropic, was a chemistry teacher. And if the one iconic thing about Hawaiian Tropic suntan lotion in the early days, it all smelled like bananas. So it was like you're rubbing fresh bananas on your skin. And it's just one little, like, I'm sure he was working in the chemistry lab one day and he smelled this and got the idea to kind of invent the suntan lotion. And he started mixing it up in his garage, one of the, garage to brand story type of thing. But anyway, back to my lifeguarding. I would go up to people and I'd have a bottle of lotion, which was like $8 or $9. And there would usually, I'd maybe talk to one person, but usually there was a group of guys or gals, and I would talk to them about suntan lotion. And I had credibility because I was a lifeguard and I had a nice, beautiful tan. So they would listen to what I said. And I really found out quickly, because I worked on commission, that I could spend 30 minutes selling them this one bottle of suntan lotion and get an $8 sale. But I quickly realized that there were many other products. There was a pre-tanner, a base tan, an advanced tanner, an after tanner. And if you put all of those things together, there was like 5 bottles, it would be like $90. And you could spend the same amount of time selling and make a $90 sale versus making a $9 sale. And so that's where I learned the concept of always thinking of how you can take the same customer. And I'm not saying sell them something they don't need, because they needed to get a really good tan. They did need all these products. And you turn a $9 sale into a $90 sale. So flash forward probably 15 years, and I was working on the OxyClean television commercials, and we were selling a container of OxyClean. And we decided in the offer, remembering this upsell technique, 2 things: that when people were on the phone and ordering their container of OxyClean, which was like $19.99, we asked them if they would like to supersize, the McDonald's term. Would you like to supersize your order? So you'd go from like a 20-ounce tub to a 32-ounce tub at like a 25% savings. And most of the people said yes. So the next question we asked them is, would you like us to ship it to your door, every month on a monthly basis? And amazingly, 20% of the people automatically said yes. And so you were signing people up to a subscription service. So right away, instead of buying one tub of $19, these people were on a subscription service that sometimes they stayed on for years, and that the lifetime value of that customer went way up. Then as OxyClean introduced a couple new products, they had Kaboom tub and tile cleaner and Orange Glow furniture polish. We would naturally then ask if people would like to buy that. And once a customer liked the initial product, it was very easy to upsell those other, because they trusted the company. So that's a kind of a couple upselling stories that really makes sense. But also, if you're doing any type of online marketing and you're marketing, again, a product or a service, think in terms of other valuable products that your customers might want or need. And when you're engaging in that conversation with that customer, you should offer them these additional products.
That reminds me of a lady in Tucson, Arizona. She was known as the first lady of fashion, Celeste Peterson, short for Cecilia. And her philosophy was, this lady, she had Elizabeth Taylor come into her little shop there in Tucson, and, lady asked her, and just a whole bunch of, celebrities and VIPs would come to her shop. And even during, bad times, recessions, down times, whatever, her shop just continued to march. And she was interviewed when she was about 98, I think it was. She died at 101 years of age. Wonderful lady. I had the privilege of meeting her one time. Class act. And she says, early on, I figured out I'm not going to sell people what they need. I'm going to sell people what they want. I've never forgotten that. That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine, and his wife has an online clothing company. They were strictly, brick and mortar. They had like boutique stores. It was kind of a little bit higher end clothes for working women. And they said a really valuable thing to me when they switched their whole business to online and direct to consumer. And they said when someone comes to the store to buy a single item, if they're able to get on the phone and talk to them, they end up leaving with 3 outfits as opposed to like one item that they might have come to the store with. And it's not because they're necessarily good salesmen. It was exactly what you just said, Jim. Instead of saying, somebody coming and buying what they need instead of what they want, and the people leave actually spending more money, but actually more fulfilled and more happy. And
Oh, yeah.
again, these principles we're talking about translate whether it's traditional advertising, online advertising, whatever you're doing. That's why we're sharing this stuff today, because it's been proven to work in many different categories, product categories, and many different marketing methods.
Oh, yeah. Because like everybody needs shoes, but I mean, when it comes to buying shoes, when I want dress shoes or nice shoes, I'm going to buy shoes that's got leather soles. And, I mean, it just to know that I bought what I wanted, that's rewarding yourself. Because everybody needs shoes. You can go down, heck, if you can go down to Goodwill, I guess, and get used shoes or whatever. I'm not knocking anybody that does that on budget or anything like that. I'm just saying the difference is, in life, if you can present what they want in life and they want it from you, that's where I'm wanting to go with this. And I probably didn't do a good job of that, but people will need product and services, yes, but you need to market yourself to where they want the best product and service, and you are the person that supplies that.
Yep.
One of my favorite stories on that, Jim, and you've heard me tell this before. My mother-in-law, just an amazing human being. She's no longer with us, but probably about 12, 13, 14 years ago, she decided to pull into a car lot. She was getting tired of her old car, and it was a Toyota lot. And so the salesperson is, "What kind of car are you looking for?" "I'm not looking for a car. I just kind of wanted to see what you had." All the, "Well, that's okay. Do you like a 2-door, 4-door?" He's good salesperson. And so he takes her over to a little Corolla that was this burgundy, with specks of gold in it, and he opens the door and says, "Well, just take a look inside." And she goes, "I'm not buying anything today." He goes, "Oh, go ahead and sit inside. Look, it's the same color as your purse." I think we know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything she needed at that moment, but he had enough intuitiveness or whatever, because that goes beyond just textbook sales training stuff.
Oh yeah.
But he picked something up there, and she ended up driving home in this little candy apple red car.
Oh, yeah. We got about 3 minutes left, and I want to make sure we wrapped up this show here. We're going to be back with part 2 with maybe part 3. We don't know yet, because we're focused on content and value for you folks, because you're the reason why we're here. That's how valuable you are to us.
Okay.
And Rick, any comments you'd like to share before we wrap up this first session, sir?
Yeah, I thought we would get through 5 of our things, and we only got through 3. But I think we
It's
shared
Emerson's fault. It's Emerson's
great
fault.
information. I think the 3 of us, and I'm not saying this lightly, are sharing information. We've been doing business, we've been doing marketing, we've been dealing with people for a long time. And this information that I'm hearing, I like sharing some of the tips that I have, but then I'm still learning from the things I'm hearing from you guys. And I think that's really what the important thing is to any of the viewers and the listeners, is there's a lot of great information based on years of experience here that is very relevant to help any business. And so I'm very glad that I'm part of this, that are able to bring
Oh.
it, and looking forward to continuing. So
We're very honored that you're with us today, and I'm very honored that Emerson is with us today because Rick's website there, as you've seen on the marquee throughout the show, directbranding.com. His email address is rick@directbranding.com. And of course, Emerson's website is right by his name there, web3direct.com. And also you can contact Emerson by email, web3 at web3direct.com. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We're going to be wrapping up. This is the first part. So the second part will play next Monday, same time, same station. And we hope that you share this with others because this is some great information. Thank you so much. And remember to love yourself first, then you can love others. Most importantly, give yourself grace and be good to yourself. We'll see you next week. Thank you now. Bye-bye.
bye now.